All right, I got some good news. What's going on, guys? Got some good news, and I'm just feeling good right now. I'm just gonna probably do an update video tomorrow, and I'm going over some of this like sovereignty business stuff or whatever. And I got this magic module. I'm probably gonna finish by what's this? How long is this? One, two, three. There's 11 videos. They're about like 40 minutes of, let's say 45 minutes a pop for 11, and divide this by 2.5. So we are looking at a good solid morning of like maybe 3 hours of watching here, and some other stuff, esoteric science, language, and some other just random stuff, right? But I mean, the thing I just learned though is about entity structure, right? Which I kind of know about this stuff already, so it's not really like, you know, I just forgot, right? I forgot, like, basically this whole thing is just about making rules for yourself and kind of like cheating almost, if you know what you're doing, right? Um, it's not cheating though. You're just following the law, but you have to like know what the law is and know how to do things properly. If you don't know how to do it properly, then you end up kind of lost for the most part, right? Because there's so many different topics and so many different things that people go over. You just end up wasting your time a lot. And I'm just really grateful that I watched this. It was about entity structure, and it was about basically strategizing your entity and separating your private name from your public name and some other stuff, right? Which is stuff I already know, but I'm actually like figuring out how it like works now, right? And um, I'm just at the point in my life now where basically it's just about like maximizing what I already know and kind of like adjusting and then watching some stuff on my free time, right? The rest of the stuff is just getting clients in the door, and I mean that's pretty much it. Like most of this stuff is like pretty affordable when you look at it, right? I think this Santos stuff was like $9 a month, which is like nothing, right? This other guy's 188 a month, and God is good, man. Like, you just got to be thankful and be happy, and you have to like know what to do and what's going on. You know what I'm saying here? You have to play this like weird game of knowing what's going on, having relationships with people, and it's so much nuance. There's so much nuance. It's unbelievable, right? Um, I'm just happy. This is just a happy video of me. I'm really happy right now, and I got this new information, and I feel like charged up because I haven't, like when you're watching stuff enough, basically sometimes it's like it's like a drag. I haven't been this excited in a very long time, because basically I found out something new. All that digging, I'm still finding out new information, but like it's actually like useful, right? This new thing I learned is like really useful, and this is where I'm starting to get into more legal stuff right now. So I'm like learning about law as well as still like the spiritual stuff and the alien stuff or whatever, still learning about that. But that journey is coming to an end, and I'm entering this like law journey. It's gonna be like learning more about law, and I don't know what's after that, but it's just time to get some more clients, make as much money as I can, and just keep going, right? Like I probably could, like I said, I'll make an update video tomorrow, and I don't really have anything else left on my list of things to do. I was pretty drained today for the most part because I stayed up late last night ranting and went to sleep. Baby woke up. I woke up and the baby was laying right on me, looking at me like this. Doing the dad sleeping, dad sleepy. I'm just like, I probably woke up like 30 minutes later, still laying on me. Slapping me and stuff. Saying, eat, saying she's hungry, which is like weird because sometimes she'll like talking for like I'm hungry, and the next moment is like more please, and she'll be like eat, you know, and she's saying like full sentences now and a bunch of other stuff. I know this is like a random video, but I'm just happy I found this like gold. It's like it's really is good. This thing I found, and as I'm ready to kind of take off. I people aren't really interested in talking about this kind of stuff, so it's like it's good to know these things, so that way when you're dealing with like tax issues or you're dealing with business issues, then you can just kind of move on and kind of just be a sovereign citizen, like literally, and just kind of operate in your own jurisdiction and your domain and all the other stuff that you need to know. What a shit show, man. What a shit show. It's all a big game, you know? And if the question is, can you figure it out in time? And, this guy, he's explaining like the structuring of LLCs and trusts and all this other stuff, which I know already, but there's like so many of these things that you can do and so many strategies that you can do that basically it's like what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? So you really have to like utilize the tax code, utilize the law and all the other stuff, right? You have to like know everything, and if you don't, you're screwed, right? Like it's just you have to know everything in order to do really really well. Um, over time it gets easier because you'll actually know what's going on. You know, but this is the price. This is the price you pay for generational wealth, right? To figure out what's really happening to you, so you can give your kids the information. I give my baby the information now. Here's what's going on. Here's why you do it. Here's the reason why you do it. Here's how you like mix it up. Here's why you do this. Here's why you do that. It took me a long time to figure this shit out. Don't fuck it up. Don't be scared, and do your best. You know. So I'm going to try to. Actually, I was going to talk about praying. I actually prayed and I said, "Show me something else I need to know, whatever that is that can help me win faster with no downsides." Booyah! Right, and that was only a day. That was only a day, so that's like pretty good, right? So within one day, I got new data. So like my connection is getting even better, right? I thought my connection was getting worse over time. My connection is getting better. It's getting better. Operating in the higher self is getting even better, right? So when you're praying, you want to ask for guidance and the next step that you need to learn to get you over the next thing, and you want to ask for it at least as not as painful as possible, so that way you don't have to like get this whole down moment. That's something you have to like figure out over time too. Okay, but prayer works. It always did, always did, and always will. And you'll get your answers. And to me, I'm like, man, this was like great. I'm excited to keep learning more, but I have to focus on getting more money right now. I need an extra 50,000 a month right now. I'm gonna focus on that until um probably like the end of the month. I'm probably focus on getting as much money as I can. I got some new client work coming in already, so just time to get this just more money, I guess, at this point. You know, like I like sometimes I wonder. I'm like, do other people know this stuff? You know what I mean? I'm like, do they really know, or do they just like pretending to know? Because I can talk about this shit all day, and I'm like, I mean, does this mean something? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because you forget that people don't know this stuff after a while. You're like, you don't do this with your trust. You're like, no, you don't do this stuff with your taxes, or you're not investing your money. It's like, no, okay, like what are you doing exactly? You're like, what the fuck's going on, right? That's really what it feels like because it's so weird. You know what I mean? Actually, the guy I was just watching reminded me of my old partner. Very enthusiastic, very happy to teach, very excited to talk about the discoveries. Meanwhile, it goes over everybody's head. He used to say that when he did his presentations, people were saying that he was going too fast. People were saying a bunch of other stuff, whatever. So like he was like, "What am I supposed to do?" Right? He would complain about that on the game where we play, right? On the games we play. He'd be like, it's like, is this that fast? I'm like, I don't think so. I mean, I'm probably not a good. Like at first, I was like a good candidate to like no. I was like, I don't know if I'm a good candidate anymore. I think I'm like adjusted. He was like, yeah, and he was trying to figure out like what was like how to present. I think better at the time. This guy, he's like that, right? He was like that. He's just very knowledgeable, very communicative, but at the same time, don't understand how people can't think. So you have to already build solutions for them so they don't think like which is funny. And I was like that too, but I think I was always better at selling, right? So the reason I'm saying that is because when you're doing a presentation or something, you want to draw it out. Like that's why I draw stuff out on the channel. I know it's like ugly or whatever, but I just why I draw it out because it's the best way to learn. It's the best way to get a concept across, right? So you're like, okay, here's how we're going to do tax savings for your trust. Here's how we're going to do, um, like building a community for your trust. Here's how to avoid this situation. Here's how to avoid that situation. And you just build these protocols or frameworks. It still helps to be the expert, but like sometimes frameworks are okay, right? You use the framework. It's like, look, this is just so that way you can wrap your mind around it. We'll still work together. You can hire me as a consultant, and I'll show you what to do. Because that's really all you have to do, really. Just hire somebody. I'm about to hire this guy maybe next month or a month or two from now. I'm going to hire him and just put him on a retainer, talk to him, build a relationship with him. And, you know, that's pretty much it. But he just reminded me. I'm like, man, this sounds familiar. He's very enthusiastic, very excited, and he's saying all the right things. But it doesn't matter if nobody's like processing the information. It doesn't matter how much you know what you're talking about if the audience doesn't know what you're talking about, right? The person you're talking to doesn't know what they're talking about. Okay, that's why I don't really talk about like FHAs and so it's like I could, but I'm just not. It's almost 2 o'clock in the morning, man. Crazy right now. And this has caffeine in it. I probably really should be drinking this. Look how many apple juices I bought. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 in the room so far. Probably like another 15 to 20. 15 to 20 of them in the other room. And this is how basically you don't buy any more bottles anymore. You don't have to keep buying bottled water. You just keep buying a bunch of juice. Whether you mix it with your smoothie or you're going to mix it with just regular water, or like whatever you want to do with it, right? This is 1 liter, right? So this is, I normally drink a liter and a half, or 2 liters a day. So, but it doesn't really look like a liter though, does it? Doesn't look like a liter. But I've been drinking out of these for the past 4 months. 4 months now. So I've not drunken out of anything but this, right? And I have no plastic, no plastic, none of it, right? And like there's ways to get around stuff, right? If you just buy a bunch of juice, okay, I got a bunch of juices. Now you got this as glasses, right? You got this as glasses. You have the right shoes. You got the right systems in place. Like, I mean, you gotta just know what you're doing, man. Like, I don't know, like people, they really go through their life and they don't really understand how this whole thing works. And it works by tapping into your higher self. The faster you can do that, the faster you can win. It's not really that difficult, but you got to learn how to pray properly. You got to learn how to connect with yourself. You're going to have to learn to be open to new information and be accepting of what you're hearing. Like, for example, the trust stuff. It took me a long time to really understand that. And it's like really annoying. When you're buying properties that have other people's debt on it, you're really buying, you're really putting the property in a trust, and you're taking, equity, you're taking an equity position in the trust, right? You're doing an entity capture. Why? Because that's how you buy a property with debt on it, right? Because they basically don't want you to do that. They don't want you to figure out ways around the system. They just want you to operate in the system, but the system makes you poor. So anything you try to do to come up with some kind of creativity, they don't really like that. Sorry. Okay. Actually, I'll draw out a quick example. Okay. I was like trying to figure out what was going on. All right, let's just make this real quick. Okay. So when you are buying a property, right, this is maybe your personal you, but then there's your LLC, which is different than your than your birth certificate and your social security number. Your social security number is your EIN. Your birth certificate is your entity. Okay. Okay. That's your entity. Right. It's kind of annoying to know this stuff, but it's worth it once you do. So you're not really your name. You're just, you're just you, right? You're just yourself. This is you. If it would be Carlos, it would be like Carlos all caps, right? Carlos Otero. Okay. It'd be like Carlos Otero all caps, right? Then what Carlos Otero all caps is make an LLC, right? If I'm making an LLC, then basically I can do things in this LLC, is tax particularly, and all the other stuff, and everything else become passed through from via this, right? So there's other things you can do, like you can even make trusts like adjacent to this and all this other stuff, or you can do business with other people's names, and like you can have like a bunch of just LLCs in different entities, right? I can just invent like 40 Carloses if I wanted to, right? But I'm just making a point. The point is that when you're buying a property, okay, when you're buying a property, there is the promissory note, right? And then there's the deed. What's it called? Security deed. Which is basically what is it? What's this thing called? Damn, I'm like forgetting right now. There's the note, there's a promissory note, and then there is the mortgage, or the deed of trust. Okay. Deed of trust. Okay. The deed of trust, like this is basically the payment agreement, and this is like the terms, right? There's like all that, like this is like the agreement, but this is the payment agreement. Okay. Now, what happens is what most people do is they end up just buying the house. Once you just buy the house, either if it's in your birth certificate name or your regular ownership name, what'll happen is that it's attached to you. Okay. Person can't really pay the property, so you have to figure out how to buy the property while it has maybe, let's just say, 100K in debt on it. How do you buy this? You have to basically absorb the deed, and the person is still responsible, and their name is on this information, right? They're still responsible to pay the mortgage, but we're taking control over the asset. And we like it's been so long since I like talked about this stuff, but I mean it's like useless information for me now. So it's like, if that makes sense or whatever, right? Eventually you start knowing too much, you're like, all right, I don't really remember this shit no more. Basically, it's all about control over assets, right? So it doesn't matter if it's a business or whatever, but the bank basically has an agreement with this person, and what you're doing is you're stepping in between the bank and them, right? You're just kind of stepping in between here, because why? You're basically going to take control of the property, right? So you take control, we take control, and then we put somebody else in place to pay the bills. Then the bills go to the bank. Okay, so the bank really never loses the payments or any issues, but basically it's not this person paying anymore; it's us paying them, right? Now, how we take control of that is different ways. There's subject to the existing loan via a contract for deed. So you can basically just say, this person can say, I'm selling you the house for what I own it, and you have to pay the remaining balance of X, whatever, right? You just make it up. The point is that sometimes the bank will give you approval, sometimes they don't want you to, but if it's in a trust, for example, if it's in a trust, you don't really have to report it. Okay, you don't have to report that that this is going on. Okay, now why do I say that? When you're in a trust, you're really just doing asset management. It's not like you're actually trying to deliberately sell the house. So what do you do is the person, right? The person who is, just say John, right? John Jacobs, whatever, right? John Jacobs has debt, and they have an agreement with the bank, right? That they're buying a house. What they're doing is they are doing entity structure. So instead of the debt being in their personal entity, right, it's now going to be in the trust. Okay, so trust absorbs this. This person now becomes the beneficiary of the trust, right? And then there's the grantor and the trustee, right? And all the other stuff that happens, right? You can have a trustee here. Okay, this is basically the person who kind of guides the trust, And then there's a grantor, which can be this person or an attorney or whatever. That's the person who makes the trust, and they are listed as a beneficiary, right? What you can do is you basically then say, okay, you ask the trustee to manage your trust for you, and then they say, okay, well, this house, you can basically like sell it, right? You not sell it or whatever you want to do with it, trade it or pass payments over, whatever it is that you want to do with it. The trustee will have to listen to you as they have to listen to you because they're trying to do the best thing according to their interests. They're saying, I want to walk away from this house and I want you to basically find somebody who can do whatever with it. We then step in, we take over. We don't take over the debt, we take control. Okay. We take control of the asset and we basically manage it. All right. Now you can pass ownership to it. You can take ownership to it, but you don't have to. You can just technically just manage it until you take ownership. So there's like a bunch of ways like around it or whatever, but basically it's how you take over people's like property because it's essentially a buyout. You get it? It's essentially like a corporate buyout. Like if you have a business and the person, they basically can't pay their bills anymore, they selling you their asset basically, right? So if it's inside the trust and if it's an LLC is better, but if it's inside the trust, then all you're doing is asset management. This person takes control, like me or whatever. I take the spread and I manage the estate until I don't manage the estate. I manage the property in the estate until further notice, right? Or take control over it or whatever you want to do with it. You can even sell it, but the bank still gets paid because the person that you put in here still pays the bank, right? And this is where basically like this stuff gets like really complex after a while, but I mean, that's just the cost of doing business, right? You got to figure out all these like little wiggle around rules thing because, the whole thing is that they're trying to make sure that you're standing upright and not breaking the law, of course, right? But at the same time, they make it so much bureaucracy where basically it's making it impossible to buy real estate or have a business because they don't want you to get financing. They don't want you to do all this stuff. You don't need financing. If you have a way to avoid the system, then basically you basically winning. You're like cheating the system, kind of, but you're not. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's fair, but it's just, not, they don't want you to figure it out. Okay. So anyway, you can do the same thing with other stuff too, like taxes and stuff like that. But, maybe for another day, like you can make yourself a nonprofit entity or something and donate to yourself. So kind of like weird shit you can do, right? And I'm just going to just focus on trying to just get some more clients, man. I need some more clients, man. The more clients I get, faster I'm out of my situations, and then we just on up and up and up and up and up. And now I found even better ways to maximize, I don't think it's going to get any better than this, man. If it does, man, I'll be impressed. I'll tell you that. See you.